Now, this happens in religious views as well. I was on a TV show in Toronto, Canada, a number of years ago. I was just back there about 4 weeks ago. I spoke at the University of Toronto. But in this particular case, I was on a TV show called The Test of Faith. Now, this is not a Christian show. It's a secular show, which they pursue religious topics because they like the controversy. And they fly in some weirdo, and they put him in a hot seat. And then they have a table, and other people, 4 others, talk show host, and 3 other guests will come up and beat up the weirdo in the hot seat for an hour on national TV. This is kind of fun. By the way, where do you think Mr. Kokel was sitting in this particular episode? I was the weirdo in the hot seat. Now, what was my weird religious view? I rejected the notion of religious pluralism. Now, religious pluralism is the idea that all religions are equally valid routes to God. All religions are equally true. No religion's better than any other religion. All roads lead to the paths lead to the top of the mountain. All roads lead to Rome. They might invoke, the parable of the elephant and the blind men and that to kind of make their point. So that's pluralism, and it's kind of where we're at in our culture. You want to be a Christian, fine, but don't act like you're right and other people are wrong. That's intolerant, all right? Okay, fair enough. So I think that pluralism is false. I think it is not true that all religions lead to Rome. I could argue as a Christian that Jesus is right, therefore others are wrong, but I made a strategic decision not to pursue it in that fashion. That is, my goal was not to argue from the basis of Christianity, but to show that pluralism is false on the merits, regardless of what I happen to believe. And so I explained to Valerie Pringle that I was going to make an argument that did not trade on my religious convictions, that anybody could use this argument, no matter what religion they were, and even an atheist could use it if he was at least open to the idea that some religion might be true. It is not the case that all religions are equally true and valid. Now, by the way, there was an atheist that was involved in this discussion. He actually worked for the station, and he was the one who called me a month before to set this up, because they always have to do a call to the potential weirdo to find out if they're weird enough, and they talk for an hour. Yeah, you're really weird. We'll have you on our program. Now, his name was Pierre, and he was in the background. When I got there, he was part of the crew and everything, and I met him the first time. We had talked. Hey, good to see you. Hey, Pierre, I want to make a bet with you. He said, what? I said, I'm going to give an argument. Here's my bet. What's going to happen? I'm going to give an argument. They're going to ignore my argument, and they're going to start attacking me personally. Just like I told you yesterday, they changed the topic. I don't know, maybe it won't happen that way. Let's just see. He said, okay, let's see. So I get up, and I tell Valerie Pringle in the first segment, 5 minutes, I can make my case before the other folks come up. And I said, here's my argument. Very simple. Jesus claimed to be the Messiah. He either was the Messiah or he wasn't, right? Now, if he was not the Messiah, the Jews are right and the Christians are wrong. Now, if he is the Messiah, then the Christians are right and the Jews are wrong, but under no case can they both be right. If God exists, maybe it's an open question. He's either personal or he's not personal. If he's not personal, the Hindus are right and the Christians and the Muslims and Jews are wrong. If he is personal, then the Christians, Jews, and Muslims are right and the Hindus are wrong, but under no circumstance can they both be right. When you die, you either go to heaven or hell, or maybe you get reincarnated, or maybe you go to astral worlds, or maybe you lie in the grave, but you can't do them all at the same time. Do you see that somebody has got to be mistaken here? All religions can't be true because they have contradictory truth claims. They see the world in entirely different ways. Now, they could all be false, which it would include mine, but they can't all be true. So there's my argument. That is a really good argument, by the way. It doesn't prove my view is true. It demonstrates that pluralism is false, taken at face value. Okay, so then the people start coming up. The first guy is a Sikh from Canada, from Toronto. He's an attorney there, and a Sikh is a religious order from originated in India. The gentlemen wear the turbans. And here's how he starts. What do you think of Mr. Kokel's comment? Well, if Mr. Kokel thinks he won the lottery, good for him. Won the lottery. What is he referring to? I'll tell you what he's referring to. He had gone to our website, str.org, and he had downloaded some things that I'd written. He knew that I was a Christian, and now he's attacking me because I think Jesus is the only way of salvation. Is that the topic today? No, it wasn't the topic today. It was pluralism, not Jesus. But immediately he changes the subject and he goes after me. And he didn't stay passive-aggressive for long, because pretty soon he's waving papers across the table at me like this. And Valerie Pringle actually had to push him down in his seat because he was hopping mad because I was so arrogant and narrow-minded and intolerant to hold the views that I hold. He even said, people like you cause wars. Now, I'm sitting on the other side, cool, calm, and collected, just trying to make an argument against pluralism. And this guy's coming across the table to me saying, I'm the guy who causes wars. Now, as it turned out, the Hindu pastor also joined in a liberal Christian pastor from the United Church of Canada, a woman. Same thing, pluralists all, I'm the bad guy. And just like the Sikh, certain words start creeping into the conversation, like intolerant and narrow-minded and all that. Now, are they responding to my argument? No, they're fulfilling my prophecy. And I actually said to them, I said, look, the conversation has changed topics. We started out talking about pluralism. Now we're talking about Mr. Kokel's personality. Mr. Kokel's intolerant. Mr. Kokel's narrow-minded. Whatever. I said, so Mr. Kokel's mean is what you're trying to say. I said, okay, why don't I just admit that I'm mean? Okay, I'm mean. And now that we all agree that I'm mean, can we get back to the topic here? And in fact, you're attacking, I also pointed out, you're attacking me as a Christian. So something must be wrong with Christianity, because that's your objection, or at least the kind of Christianity that I hold to. Well, if that's the case, then the kind of Christianity that I hold to clearly is not a legitimate religious point of view, is it? So it's not a legitimate path to God, is it? That's what you're implying here. But if you're right on that point, which you might be, well, then you're wrong on the thing that we're supposed to be talking about here today. They didn't get it. One whole hour. I'll tell you who got it. The atheist got it. And he was hopping mad at the Sikh. And he came up after the camera stopped rolling, and he was mad, and he's using language, appropriate for an atheist. I mean, he was really bugged. Now, let me tell you what is going on here. And I can't. I'm probably just going to go a smidgen overtime here, but first I want you to be able to deal with the tolerance trick that the guy was putting on me, the Sikh. When people say that you're intolerant, you always ask this question. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? All right? Now, I know what they mean by that. I want them to say it and get it out in the open. What they usually mean is, you think you're right. You think you're right and other people are wrong. Now, do you think that when I give a point of view that I think I'm right? Yes, I think I'm right. Of course. If I didn't believe that my beliefs were true, I would not believe what I believe. I would believe something else and believe that were true. But I'm not the only person in the conversation who believes his beliefs are true. So does the other guy, which is why he's trying to correct me, for goodness sake. So when somebody calls you intolerant, you say, what do you mean by that? They say, well, you think you're right, essentially. I said, well, yeah, I guess I do. I could be mistaken. We could talk about that. But let me ask you a question. Do you think you're right? Now, sometimes people say, well, I'm right for me, and they'll try to do the little relativistic two-step there. And I say, why? Obviously, you don't think you're just right for, if you're just right for you, why are you talking to me right now? Now, I'm a little bit aggressive as I'm explaining this to you because I'm trying to stay awake here early in the morning. I'm not this aggressive when I'm talking with people, just so you know, all right? I'm cool, and I'm trying to stay cool and calm and collected. So are your views true? Of course he thinks his views are true. And then I have a final question. Why is it when I think I'm right, I'm intolerant? But when you think you're right, you're just right. Why is that? And he said, twice I've had people, they have to answer that, by the way. It's not a rhetorical question. I want them to answer it because I want them to see that they're doing the same thing I'm doing, but they're the only one who's calling names. They've changed the subject. I want to get back on the topic. And I've had two people that responded to me why they're not intolerant. when they think they're right is because they're actually right. I'm not making this up. Okay. Now, why do people do this? The last 6 minutes, I'm going to give you the answer. Because people are confused on what tolerance is. Now, I was speaking to a high school group in Des Moines, Iowa, and I was talking about this, and I put the definition of tolerance on the board, and I wrote the definition out because I had to draw the information with them a little bit. By the way, these were Christian high school students. And the definition of tolerance is a working definition. All views are equally valid. You're a Christian, that's valid. You're a Buddhist, that's valid. You're a Muslim, fine, that's valid. You believe in abortion, fine. You don't believe, these are all equally valid for the person holding them, okay? All views are equally valid. Okay, great. Then I wrote a sentence underneath, and the sentence was, Jesus is the Messiah, and those who reject him are wrong. Or Jews who reject him are wrong. I even got more offensive. Well, now, these were high school students, and I'm not really wild about speaking. Brett Kunkel, staff member, he's talking to the high school students over there. I get you guys, because you guys are alive. You know, I like that. You know, high school students are like talking to a painting. And then even there they were all sitting there. It looked like the Last Supper, you know, this table of kids. And so, but when I wrote this sentence on the board, they came alive. And in fact, there was a young lady over the side. She's waving her hand like that, and she said, "You can't say that." Well, that's intolerant. That Jews who don't believe in Jesus are wrong. That's intolerant. And then she goes, "How would you like it if somebody said you were wrong?" Think about it now. Come on. I know it's early. I said, "You mean like you're doing right now, young lady, with me?" Doesn't bother me a bit. By the way, this notion of tolerance is instructing our kids to feel like they have the right to get angry when people disagree with them. How would you like it if somebody said you were wrong? Doesn't bother me at all. I'm a grown-up. I didn't say that to her. But then I circled the definition of tolerance and I asked a question. Remember, all views are equally valid. And I said, is this a view? The statement, all views are equally valid, is that a view? Yeah. Okay, good. Then I circled the second sentence that Jesus is the Messiah and Jews who reject him are wrong. And I asked the same question. I said, is that a view? I guess it is a view. You're right. Those are both views. Wow, do you see a problem here? I asked the students. Because tolerance teaches that all views are equally valid. And the idea that Jesus is Messiah and the Jews are wrong for rejecting him is a view which would mean by your definition of tolerance that the second statement was what? Equally what? Valid. And if you don't think so, that makes you what? Intolerant by your definition. In other words, all views are equally valid and not equally valid at the same time. Now, anybody sense a contradiction? It's exactly what's going on. It's exactly what we saw in those examples that I cited to you. And it's exactly what happened with Faye Waddleton. All of it's the same thing. Same thing that happened on that TV show. But these people did not see it.